Okay, so a quick update to the symptoms of a bad idle air control valve sensor video that I posted a while back. First of all, if you haven't seen that, I'll leave a playlist at the end of this video and you can watch it then if you want to see exactly what was happening, because I can't replicate it. But I'll go on and tell you, anytime I came to a stop, the idle would drop, the engine would stall, and then I could start it back up. As long as I left my foot on the throttle, it wouldn't cut off again. But anytime I let off the throttle while the car was stopped, the car would stall out. Okay, so once again, idle would drop, engine would stall. I could keep the engine running as long as I kept my foot on the throttle, but as soon as I let off when I was stopped, it would do it again. Okay, so what was the problem? Well, the first time I had the problem, it was, I thought, just the idle air control valve sensor. Okay, so I took out the idle air control valve sensor. It was disgusting. It was covered in carbon. I cleaned it off with some part spray, put it back in, and bam, problem solved, right? Well, at least that's what I thought until it happened again. When it happened again, I just went ahead and replaced the sensor and bam, problem solved, right? Well, that's what I thought. This time it happened, I took out the sensor. The sensor was nice and clean, still shiny as a whistle, clean as a whistle. So I took it out. I looked in the throttle body where the idle air control sensor goes, and the hole where the plug goes into was just covered in carbon, just like the actual idle air control sensor was to begin with, the initial idle air control sensor. So I decided I was going to take the throttle body out. I cleaned the throttle body. I cleaned all the ports where the sensors plug into. That is where the idle air control sensor plugs in, the map sensor, the throttle position sensor. And I put it all back together, put it in, and bam, problem solved. Of course, I hope that's all it is. I'm still convinced that it was, the hole where the idle air control valve sensor plugs into. So it was still an idle air control valve sensor related problem. Now, if this happens to you, of course, do everything I did, but do it all a little closer together. And maybe if you're lucky, if you have a dirty idle air control valve and you clean it and you clean the throttle body at the same time, you won't have to replace the idle air control valve sensor. Okay. Now, as a quick fix, like I did, you could just clean the idle air control valve sensor and get yourself to wherever you need to go. But don't be lazy. Go back and clean the throttle body as well. And hopefully, in that case, it'll last a little longer. Now, of course, as a disclaimer, these symptoms can occur for other problems. If you want, keep looking around, see if it's something else. I've heard of people having bad batteries, alternators, crank position sensors, things like that. I personally have never had I've never had these symptoms exactly, where the idle will drop, engine will stall, and then start back up and only run while idled if I give it throttle. I've never had those symptoms for anything else but something related to the idle air control valve, right? So, of course, now I would say symptoms of a bad idle air control valve and throttle body. But anyway, that was my experience. Hopefully it'll help you to fix the problem without having to go through a couple of sensors and fix it 3 times. But if it's not the problem, let me know what it is, and I guess we can all learn from each other's mistakes together. So hope it helps, and I'll leave it there. Peace.